Hello, this is the screen recording video for AI Lesson 2. So AI Lesson 2 starts with asking you to download the l2start.ai file from Schoology. Remember, if you're using Chrome, it pops down at the bottom. If you're using Firefox, it would go up to the top right. Clicking on that should automatically open it in Illustrator. So let's give a second for that to open. All right, you know it's open correctly if you have this little cute red panda looking thing on your screen. So what we're going to do today is we're going to recognize smart guides, save selections for future use, hide and lock items, use tools and commands to align shapes and points to each other in the artboard, group and ungroup, and work in the isolated mode. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to save this. So we're going to go File, Save As, and you should be saving everything into a graphic design folder. So I have one on my desktop, and we are going to save this as L2, and I like to say working, or you can call it wildlife poster or whatever. I just like to say this is the one I'm working on. This is my Illustrator file. So there we go, save. So you always want to save right away, just to make sure everything's good. It's where you can find it, and then we'll periodically save as we work through these lessons. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to choose the selection tool, the black arrow, and we're going to come over here and we're going to move over to the second artboard where we have these cute little, I don't know, I think they're going to be eyes eventually, but these are just tan circles. Now to zoom in, it's Command plus. To zoom out, it's Command minus. So again, Command plus or Command minus, Command 0 to reset. You're going to we're going to zoom in here and you're going to hover over it till it says the word path on the edge of the path, or anchor might appear if you're hovering over an anchor. Click anywhere on the inside and you'll select the whole thing, and you'll notice that there's a bounding box. This bounding box allows you to manipulate the shape. Command Z to undo. I'm going to click and drag outside of the circle all the way over to the other circle. Notice now I can drag both of them together. Yay! Now we've made some changes. You can revert to the last saved version of this by going up to the top here and doing File, Revert. It's going to ask if you'd like to revert, and you're going to say Revert. Now we didn't do much, so we're not really undoing too much either. So the next thing we're going to play around with is the Direct Select tool. It's the white arrow, and we're going to use it to select very specific points. So I'm going to come over here to this middle bamboo, right there. And notice when I click on it, if I zoom in, you'll see a couple extra things. You'll be able to select direct anchors, direct paths, and you'll also see this little dot here. This dot helps curve in points. We'll mess with that later, but we don't want it curved in yet. And then you'll notice that you can do that. Command Z, Command Z. All right, now it's time to actually get to work and start and create these things. So with my direct select, the white arrow, I'm going to come over to these eyes, and I'm staying pretty zoomed in, and I just want to select the top of them. By just dragging and selecting the top of the eyes, I'm just getting that top anchor point. That's going to allow me to grab that top anchor and manipulate both of them at will. So I guess the book doesn't actually want that, so we're going to hit Command Z, but that's a good practice. The next thing we're going to do is hide and lock objects. Oops. We're going to come over here to the main wildlife poster, that first artboard, which will be the final artboard. So there's multiple ways. You can just scroll around, double click, hit the arrows down in the status bar. But we're going to zoom in a little bit. Oops, I'm still selected over there. And what we're going to do is we are going to take that background, and notice if I want to move anything or if I want to select the whole head here, I'm selecting the background with it. So oftentimes what you're going to want to do is you're going to click on that background and you're going to want to lock it into place so that you're not manipulating it all the time. So you're going to click on the background and then you're going to go Object, Lock, Selection. It's also Command 2, but that's a pretty uncommon command. So Object, Lock, Selection. And that's just going to lock. And notice now when you go to hover over the face, that's all that moves. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we are actually going to select that whole face. And then we're going to hold down, let me just double check this. Shift. And we're going to remove the eyes from the selection. I'm not sure that's how that works. That's not how it's working for me. It did work. Yeah, I held down Shift and I clicked on the eyes. You can add them back to the selection. Notice that there's that blue line around them. Hold down Shift again, click on them, and that blue line keeps them away from the selection. So we can actually now go Object, Hide, Selection, or Command 3. Or if you're on a PC, every time I say Command, it's Control, so Control 3. So we Command 3 that away, and bam! It's hiding. It's still there, it still exists, it's just hiding. So now we'll come back to that later. It's going to be hidden so we can more easily select other things on the artboard. Now we're going to come back over here to Bamboo and learn how to select similar objects at once. We're going to select this guy here that we were playing with earlier. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit Select, Same. So let's say you have a bunch of little circles and they're everywhere and you really want to get them all selected at once to delete them or to move them. This is one way to do it. Select, Same, Stroke Color. So they all have the same stroke. It could be all the same fill colors. So you're selecting all the purple or all the green, but these all have the exact same stroke color. So everything with that stroke color is going to get selected. And now what we can do is we can align these. So what we are going to do is save this selection for later. So let's say you have a bunch of polka dots, you're creating a cupcake, for example, with a bunch of sprinkles. We can save this selection for later by doing Select, Save Selection. And we're going to save this, I don't know, let's call it Bamboo, right? Let's not be too creative. Let's be straight to the point with graphic design, especially our file names. Bam, saved. And now we can select, deselect, and we can come back to that later. So the next thing we want to do is learn how to select things in outline mode. So we're going to go back to Artwork 1, and we're going to go to Object, Show All, which is going to show up anything we've previously hidden because we don't need to edit anything. we are going to go to select, deselect, because we don't need to have all that selected. And then we're going to hit view outline. So this kind of allows us to select very certain things. So I can select an eye. We can drag across both eyes. Notice that nothing else is selected because we just wanted the eyes. And then you can go view, GPU preview, and that all pops up again. All right, let's go back to our bamboo. So with our bamboo, we are going to hit select, and then at the bottom is our selection of bamboo. Bam, grab that stuff. And now we're going to align our artboard. So what we're going to do, I'm going to make sure I'm on that artboard. Double click there on the pieces artboard. And then I'm going to click horizontal align center. And where that is right here is in the middle of your panels if you're on the right mode. And horizontal align center is right here. It's just basically a stick running through the middle of everything. And if you press that, it will all line up. I'm going to drag that over here a little bit, out of the way. But notice how that moved a little bit, so I'm going to do Command Z, so that they're unaligned like that. And we're just going to show you one more way to align to a key object. What we're going to do now is so these should be selected. Then we're going to take our our normal selection tool. And we are going to click the leftmost shape with that selection tool until it gets this really thick outline. So we've made that the key shape. So now if we hit horizontal align center, everything aligns to that key shape. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to squish them all together perfectly. So we're going to come over here to the align. We're going to go to more options. And we are going to deal with vertical distribution space. We don't need to have anything, any sort of 0 pixels or 0 inches. We want it to be right in it. When we click on that, that aligns them perfectly, and there's never going to be that one random little space. That absolutely sucks. Now, select, deselect, and then Command S. Command S, file save, people. We actually did some work. Command S, file save. The next step is anchor points. So I'm going to grab my direct select tool. Remember, that's the white arrow. And I'm going to come down here to this orange shape. And I basically want to align this anchor point and this one right here. So I'm going to hold down Shift to select both of them. So now they're both blue dots instead of white. And then I'm going to come over here to the align. Oh, Artboards is in the way. And I want to align the bottom. So when I click on that, bam! There it is, perfectly aligned, 100% level. And now we can bring that over to our other artboard. So I'm going to zoom out and drag that over here so we have a body. Now, if your body ends up being on top of your fox for some reason, Object, let me think, Arrange, Send Backwards, or Command Bracket. That's going to be one that I actually highly recommend that we do with shortcuts. So Command or Control Bracket. Bracket on the right brings it forward. Bracket on the left will bring it back. All right, next thing we're going to do is we are going to select our bamboo again. Go to select, then bamboo. And we are going to group them. And there's a group button over here in the quick actions in the bottom of your panel right there. Hit group, and now they're kind of stuck together as a group. So every time you click on them, they're just held together. We're going to bring that over here. We can make it bigger and making them bigger all at once with the bounding box. We can stretch them out because it's bamboo. Bam. There we go. You can make it skinnier or longer, shorter or wider. It's up to you and what you think bamboo should look like. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to edit a group in isolation mode. So let's Command S, file save. Come over here to these leaves. To get into isolation mode basically says these are the only things we're going to be working on. Basically, if you have a lot of stuff going on, like in our typographic portraits that we're going to be working on, you might want to run into isolation mode a lot. To run into isolation mode, you just double click and it will bring you into isolation. So I want to group these together so that they come into isolation together. And bam. So now that they're in isolation, even if they're a group, I can select them individually. And now I can come over here, select that bottom leaf, because I don't think they should be the same color. And we are going to edit the color. It's actually got a color available for you right now called Leaf Green 2. Bam. Now all you have to do to get out of isolation mode is to double click out. We're going to take this leaf, bring it over here. Ta-da! And now we need to copy it. So I'm going to hold down Alt. So notice when I hold down Alt, it becomes a double arrow. So I can Alt and drag, and then make smaller if I want. Shift to keep it from warping. Hold down Alt, and Shift to keep it from warping. And you can just kind of keep playing around with that. As many leaves as you want. All right, Command S, file save. We are almost done. The last thing that we are going to do is bring these eyes over. They're actually the whites of the eyes, the little reflections. They're a little big right now. So we're going to shrink them. We're going to shrink them down till, notice there's a measurement here, and if I hold down Shift, they'll stay as a perfect circle. We're going to shrink them till they're about 1.3-ish inches. Doesn't have to be perfect. So about 1.3, 1 1/3 inch. So now we're going to drag them over, but don't deselect them. We're going to drag them over. Notice how they're actually behind a bunch of stuff when we move them over. What we need to do is Command right bracket, we'll bring them forward, or Command left bracket, which isn't working for some reason. Oh yeah, there it is. There's just, I had to keep clicking Command right bracket a bajillion times because there's so many layers. Another way you could have done that is coming over to the side here. Let's see if they're still selected. Yep. And sometimes in quick actions, and I don't know why it's showing up right now, there should be an arrange quick action. Just like up here, object, arrange, send to back, bring to front, which would have been quicker. It would have brought everything to the front at once, and that would have been Shift, Command, right bracket. So you can see the shortcut key there. We're going to bring to front. That allows us to see the little whites of the eyes. And now we're just going to drag them that way. Or maybe he needs to look up. That is entirely up to you where you put those. Command S, file save. And then instead of deleting this artboard right here, this artboard is where you're going to answer the questions. So the questions for this one is, let me paste it in here. Ooh, that lorem ipsum. And lorem ipsum's okay. It's not the end of the world. All right. So I'm going to make those a little bit bigger. So first question is, how can you select an object that has no fill? So that one I might not have covered really well, but let's say you just created a line, it didn't have a stroke, it didn't have a fill. That's when you would go into Object, or View Outline, and then you'd be able to select any sort of vector that you have. So no more invisible, hidden, messy vectors. So you can select it as long as it exists, even if it doesn't have a fill, if it's empty, or even if it doesn't have a fill or a stroke and it's invisible. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to, oops, I did a lorem ipsum, answer the question, to align objects to an artboard, what do you need to first change? Oh, we're going to change that question. And then we're going to change that to or I'll just answer it for you. So to align objects to an artboard, you first need to select Align to Artboard option. So again, that's Align to Artboard option. That way they don't fly off the artboard. And then the last one is sometimes you are unable, oops, I spelled it wrong, unable to select an object because it's underneath another object. Explain 2 ways to get around that issue. And I feel like I explained that one pretty well, so go ahead and answer that one on your own. When you're done, File, Save, and then to submit it, you need a PDF. So File, Save As. Instead of working, it is now done. And instead of a .ai, it is now a .pdf. Make sure it's going to your folder. Hit save, and then upload back to Schoology. Awesome. If you have any questions, please let me know.